could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm back. Oh wow, folks, I'm pretty doggone excited. I'm excited to be back. I'm not gonna lie, I've definitely missed it. But you know, just like I said when we first kicked this bad boy off, so long ago, it was always going to be dependent upon my ability to take a break and, you know, fire up the mic and the cam and all that. Hang on. My chair is off kilter. There we go. Driving me nuts. Still not centered. There we go. I think that's it. All right. Hi, everyone. How'd everybody get here? Wow. Guys, let me just kick off and say thank you all for the emails, the messages asking when I was going to be back to do this. And it feels good to for people to want to hear what you got to say. That's all I can say, right? But I tell you what, let me do this. Let me get some of the housekeeping out of the way, and then we can wax eloquently about what we've missed and what's happening and the various topics that you guys chose to talk about tonight. For those who are joining us for the first time, I'm Daniel Miller, president of the Texas Nationalist Movement, and this is Late Night Coffee Talk. Yeah, late again, right? 9 p.m. When I can make it happen, so that's when it's happening, back to its original time for now. We'll see what happens. Anyway, this is the time of the week where I take a break from working for Texas independence to fire up the microphone, the camera, and have a conversation with you. I'll talk about things that have been happening in the TNM and what's going on with TEXIT in general. Always got some stuff to get off my chest, but more importantly, and since day one, I will be answering your questions, right? So if you're watching this on any of the Facebook pages that it's live streaming on, drop your question in the comments. Of course, if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to comment in the chat section, ask your questions over there. We'll sift through them and see, get to as many as we can. I like to try to fold them into the topics at hand, but I'll answer some general ones, right? If you've got general TEXIT questions, I want to encourage you to head over to texitnow.org. That's texitnow.org. There we have about the 100 most asked questions about TEXIT. So pardon me if I don't take some of the Ned and the first reader comments tonight. All that, what's going to happen to my Social Security? Answered. What are we going to do about defending Texas? Answered. What about veterans benefits? Answered. What are we going to do about trade? Answered. What are we going to do about travel? Answered. It's all over there. Head over to texitnow.org, or I think you see a copy of that book up there, TEXIT. I would encourage you to get a copy of that and read it. You would probably, some of you will understand this, but many of you that have not read it probably would not believe how much that book gives you your own framework to be able to craft your own answer, to basically answer the questions that you're asking yourself. So not a plug for the book. Get it or go to texitnow.org, your choice. As always, no matter what platform you're on, be sure to like, share, comment, do all the things, hit all the buttons. And good news is that I think we're in a bit of a position now where I'm going to be able to do this sort of back on that weekly rotation. And I'm very happy about that. Those that are joining us for the first time and don't know, I have been on a bit of a hiatus. I think the last time I did a coffee talk was about a month ago. Normally, prior to that, they were about once a week, and then we get busy, right? I travel on the road, and it's been a pretty busy one. I know I think I shared this at the last one, but in the first half of the year, the national leadership team, the executive team, traveled the equivalent of more than the circumference of the circumference of the Earth at the equator, right? I mean, like the entire distance around the world, more than that, just in the first 6 months. And all of that was pretty much here in Texas. And there's been, some travel since then. So, since we last visited, I was on a panel. Nate Smith, our executive director, and I were on a panel at Freedom Fest in Memphis, where we got to talk about self-determination. We were on there with some of our counterparts from New Hampshire and got to really introduce the people at Freedom Fest to this idea that if you want to pursue freedom, you better start pursuing self-determination, and self-government is the heart of that. And of course, I got to speak at Freedom Fest, which was fantastic. Last night, I actually was up in Denison, Texas, birthplace, General Eisenhower, right? I was up in Denison speaking at the Grayson County Conservatives at a lovely place called the Green Growler. Had a phenomenal group of folks there, all fired up, ready to see TEXIT happen. Many had already signed the TEXIT petition. Many were already plugged in. But what was interesting was I got to share with them because it's been a while. A lot of these places I come back to, I get invited back pretty regularly, annually, sometimes more than once a year, but I get invited back. But it was interesting because the last time I was physically present to speak at an event there for Grayson County conservatives, two things happened. Number one, I had just announced that I was running for lieutenant governor back during the cycle, right? So that was November of 2021. And the person who kicked off the meeting, the opening speaker, was our attorney, Paul Davis, who is representing the TNM in our suit against Facebook. He's representing Morgan McComb in her lawsuit against Jeff Leach, who went on his little Twitter tantrum and said that she was guilty of treason and sedition because she supports TEXIT. That is a no-no, defamation per se. As a matter of fact, for those of you who did not see the email, that hearing, the first actual hearing in that case, is coming up tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow afternoon in Weatherford, and it's going to be it's going to be in Weatherford, and it's not going to be at the Parker County Courthouse. In fact, it's going to be where it's going to, since it's in County Court at Law number 2, it's going to be in there because they're doing some remodeling at the courthouse. It's going to be in sort of a satellite courtroom. You can go find the details. There's the most recent article about it on the TNM website. You'll be able to find it there. You'll see it. It's in bold there in the middle of the article. It has all the information there about where it's going to be, but it's, newsflash for those of you planning on attending, it is not going to be at the Parker County Courthouse. It is going to be at the at that little satellite location. And I wish I could pull it up now. But anyway, Bruce, I think it's going to be quite interesting by the time this is all over with. I think this hearing is going to be pretty instructive as to what's going to be happening in relation to kind of moving forward on this issue of defamation against TEXIT supporters. So fun. I'm seeing some of the comments over there. Chris Milton saying the Green Growler was great. It was definitely a really cool place. And, looking forward to heading up there to Grayson County again. I think it's going to be a phenomenal opportunity next time we're up there. If you do not live in the area, for you to get plugged in, right? To get plugged into what's happening in the TNM. All right. Let's get this show on the road. I'm going to start looking for questions here because I think we're going to get some, and we'll get on to some of our other topics. We've got some things. All right. We're good. Okay. Just a reminder, if you have questions tonight, drop them in the chat or the chat on YouTube or the comments on Facebook. I cannot see it if you just comment on Twitter. They don't have that set up yet. Or you can drop them to me at coffeetalk@thetnm.org. That's coffee talk, all one word, at thetnm.org. And normally I would have that scrolling down here that I could point to, but instead I am encouraging you, if you have not done so already, to sign the TEXIT petition, right? 180 days from our kickoff on June 5th or 6th, whatever day that was. And the cutoff is December the 1st. So you got to get your signature in. And more importantly, you've got to help us get more signatures. Anyone out there who is doing this ridiculous song and dance about all you should have to do is send one email to all your supporters. Stop being naive, right? Let's not be ridiculous. Let's buck the expectation from the opposition that we haven't thought this through. We obviously have. Go read one of the most recent articles on the TNM website where we talk about the cost of the TEXIT petition campaign. Or there's a video. I snipped out the last section from Late Night Coffee Talk. This myth of the one email solution to this thing is just ridiculous. So please stop sending me emails about it. It gives me a dim view on the people who send them and say things like that. You just don't get it. And that also tells me that you probably are not helping collect signatures. Probably not going to be able to do that for us. So, as Mr. Milton is saying over there in the chat, sign and get 5 friends to sign. Yeah, truth. I am. Hi, Debbie. Debbie says, hello from Garland. Welcome back. We missed watching you. Thank you very much. I really do appreciate that. Yeah, it's good to be back. And everybody follow John's instructions. Like and share. Let's get the number of folks in there, right? All right. So we've got some things to talk about. We're going to talk about the TEXIT petition. You know, we got a little bit of time tonight because we are starting. It is Late Night Coffee Talk. I have my coffee. And you know, we're going to talk about the TEXIT petition. I'm going to deal with some of this discussion that I've seen on social media, people asking about why we don't form a TEXIT party. And I'm going to deal with that yet again. And then we're going to talk about kind of what it looks like post petition, right? We're going to look at the road ahead, and obviously we don't have tons of time tonight, but yeah, I'll touch on it as much as I can. Let me just say a big thank you again to Grayson County Conservatives, Joy and Brian Roberts over there, and the whole team. They made all of us at the TNM feel super welcome. A big thank you to the Brunigs, Lori and David, for coming out there, helping man the table as we screeched in at the very last second. It was fantastic. Of course, to all of our volunteers that came out. I know Chris Milton was there. I know John Chitwood was there. We had a lot of volunteers out there connecting with the folks up there in Grayson County. And so thank you all for coming out. And let's get going. So TEXIT petition. So many of you have been asking about sort of where we are in the process, and you know, kind of where we are with council. Well, look, here's the thing. We didn't even start last petition campaign. We didn't even start talking about numbers until about midway through. And some people don't remember or don't understand why that is. Okay. So there is a very simplistic way to look at petition campaigns. And for those who have not participated in a statewide petition effort, I can understand why you would look at it. Many people would say, okay, our target's 100,000. We have 180 days. You know, take the number of days we've had the petition campaign and divide that into 100,000, or take 180 days, cut that into 100,000, then you get a number of signatures, and then multiply that times the number of days, and that's the target. That's not it at all, right? It seems that it should be that way, but it's not that way. And this is something that we found out during the last petition campaign. And honestly, we learned it practically, but we actually heard it directly from someone who is a TEXIT supporter who works for a petition company, right? A company, like literally they have companies that you could go hire to go get the signatures. Okay. And he is, I don't know if he's a principal in the company, but he's part of that company. He's not just a petition collector. He's, you know, he's one of the organizing guys who goes out and does that. He's a consultant is essentially what he is. And so he's the one who told us. Now his company quoted us last time $800,000 to handle the petition campaign for us, which that was not within the realm of possibility. Also not within the realm of possibility right now, unless you want to just basically shut everything else in the organization down. You know, no website, no phones, no email. You want to do that, then, you know, we can have that conversation perhaps. Still not all the way there, but we can have that conversation if you don't want anything else. But what he imparted to us was super interesting at the very onset. And he's the one who really taught us this. Although, like I said, we did learn it practically. And it's this: about 80% of your signatures are going to come in on any sort of large petition campaign in the last 2 months, right? So, we have 180 days for this campaign. Last 2 months, that's when you're going to get about 80% of your signatures. And he said it's that way for every campaign, no matter where it is. And he did specify that it was these larger statewide campaigns. I don't think it really applies for municipal campaigns. But for us, it's essentially what bore out in the last campaign. So it's something he told us. He gave us a heads up, and that's exactly what happened. So the challenge that you run into, right? So we didn't even start reporting numbers to our certified petition circulators until midway through the campaign, essentially based on that advice. Because simply put, if you start reporting numbers publicly ahead of that, the one thing you do is you give your opposition a heads up, right? They can begin disruptive efforts. I mean, there's all kinds of things they can do. We already had to suffer with enough of that last time. But the other thing that you run into is you run into a morale pinch, right? So just like I'm explaining it to you, if everybody doesn't get it and they don't understand that you can expect about 80% of your signatures to come in the last 2 months, they look at it and they do that basic back of the envelope math that I gave, and they'll look at it and they say, well, we'll never hit it, right? You'll never hit this. And it becomes a morale sucker. They don't understand the inside information about how these work. They just do the basic thing, go, this will never happen. And then they send, kind of ridiculous emails about, why can't you just send an email out to all 480,000 people? So we're going to essentially stick to what we did last time, right? We'll start rolling out those numbers to our certified petition circulators. And when we hit some specific milestones, we will make announcements accordingly, and we'll make them public. And if some people don't like that and they want to use that as an excuse to do nothing, to not help, to not collect signatures, then so be it. They probably weren't going to collect signatures anyway. They probably weren't going to be much of a help. At a minimum, they could just sign the petition, right? But the bottom line here is that I want you guys to understand these things have sort of a rhythm and a cadence, and they work a certain way. And look, let's be honest. We're already, I think we've sent out a total of 12 emails specifically about the petition. We've already done one peer-to-peer texting pass through on our list for those of you that have got your phone numbers updated, right? And we still have people that are on the list, opening the email, reading it, and not signing the petition. I mean, that's just the way that it is. So we're going to have to send out probably 12 more, or we're going to have to send out volunteers to start knocking on doors of our supporters and going, hey, why are you dragging feet? This is sort of the reason that that article got posted on the website at the beginning of the week about the cost of petition campaigns. When you look at statewide petition campaigns, these sort of larger ones, again, not municipal ones, because those have a bit of a lower bar for signature collection than these bigger sort of statewide ones. That's why the average cost last year for petition campaigns was over $12 a signature. That was an average across every petition campaign in every state. That's the average cost per signature. It's expensive. And so you offset that cost. You can either throw money at the problem, which if we did that, that would mean we would spend about $1.2 million just for the Republican primary petition, not to mention the 60,000 signatures that we want to try to get for the Democrat, primary. So you start adding those numbers together. So you offset that. You throw cash at the problem if you've got it, which we don't. We don't have the cash to throw at that kind of problem. However, if you can offset that with volunteers, right? With people that are out there that are, you know, either doing the slacktivism thing, they're taking the link, they're sharing it, they're hitting up their friends, they're calling them, they're texting them the link to sign online, which is an option we didn't have last time. So, folks, thank your lucky stars that it's available this time, right? Slacktivism, or they sign up, they become certified petition circulators, because it's not just a simple matter of having your buddy next door scrawl his name on a cocktail napkin. This is a legal petition. This is not one of those little dippy Facebook petitions or some ridiculous White House petition from 2012. This is a legal petition, right? And you have to follow the letter of the law on the petition. And if you don't, they take your petition and all your hard work, and they pick it up and they go find the round file and they drop it in there, and then they laugh in your face and say, boy, don't you wish you would have followed the law? Then all of that work would have meant something, right? So that's why we have certified petition circulators. If you have to do that to try to offset the idea that you could just throw money at the problem and make it go away. So it's a combination, all the above, right? Just started a flight of digital ads today on the petition after we got legal clearance on how they had to be worded and all that sort of thing. We're going to continue with our peer-to-peer campaign. We're going to continue to email people and hope we can break through the tech censorship logjam. But honestly, the solution to this, to get this across the finish line, is you. It's you. I can't go get 100,000 signatures myself, or 160,000. I can't. Me, Kara, and I, and Nate, and Lori, and David, and Chris Milton, and everybody else that's working on collecting those signatures, we can't do it alone either. And so we have been steadily recruiting an army of certified petition circulators, volunteers. And I'm going to be honest, I met on the way back home today. I had a very brief meeting with our field director, Paul Roby, and he told me to be absolutely sure to tell you people that if you are not signed up to become a certified petition circulator, if you have not volunteered to do that on the TNM website, you go find the details down there. Literally, it's on the screen right there, tnm.me/campaigns, or you go to texitpetition.com. There's a link to become a certified petition circulator over there. You take a little short course, you watch a few videos so you understand how it works, and then boom, you could go out there and do it. But multiplication of efforts is going to be the key to victory here, right? It's going to be each of you taking responsibility for signing the petition yourself, whether it's online or on paper, and then ensuring that you go get 5 or 10 or 20 or 100. Yours truly, I'm over 800 signatures already on personal. I'm in the hunt. I'm ready to compete, right? So, bottom line is, each of us do our part, however much we can, and this gets across the finish line. And then each and every one of you gets to vote on the question March 2024 in the primary. You get to walk into the polling place, look at your ballot, and there will be the question: should the state of Texas reassert its status as an independent nation? Simple as that. It's like I told the folks in Grayson County last night. If the defenders of the Alamo could shed their blood for our independence, then the least you can do is shed some ink for our independence. And if you want to go a little step further, you could shed some sweat and go help us get across the finish line. So hopefully that answers some of those questions. Some people may not be satisfied, but look, I'm the guy who starts off all of his speeches with, my guarantee is a good time will be had by most. I'm not here to make everybody happy. I'm here to win independence. I'm here to make enough people happy to get the ball across the finish line, right? I want to win independence. And you're either on the side of helping make that happen, or you're dragging feet and you're delaying our independence. And so, some people say I'm a bit too much of a hardliner. Daniel Miller, you're a hard butt. So what? So what? So you got to be sometimes. Sometimes, think about this. I told the guys in Grayson County last night, I said, since the last time I was there, November 2021, federal debt has increased $10 trillion, 4.1 million illegal border crossings from Mexico, right? That is 146 times the size of the city I was speaking in. That is 4 times the size of Dallas, and that is the equivalent of a city the size of Houston. Illegal border crossings from Mexico, right? So, what's your pain point? Where is your line? How much pain are you willing to endure before you stop, whining and start winning? At what point do you figure that you've got a majority, almost probably a super majority of Texas voters ready to rock and roll right alongside of you? At what point do you decide that that's enough, right? Does it need to be 70%? Does it need to be 75%? Does it need to be 99.99%? I mean, is that where your threshold is? That is something for everyone to decide. I decided a long time ago, back in, I'm not even going to say the date because you guys get sick of hearing it, but I made I made the decision all those years ago when things were not nearly as bad as they are right now. Not nearly. That was my pain point. I got my reasons. What are yours? I always, and always drives me crazy when things get hard, right? When we're literally first down and inches until the goal line. And the defense is really just kind of solidifying up, trying to keep us from punch that thing. And some people just say, "Oh, I don't know, it's so hard. I got a bunch of personal crap going on in my life, man. I can't make this a priority." Well, at what point does it become a priority for you? Right? I mean, how bad do things have to get? I mean, they gotta come drag you out of your house in handcuffs because you don't worship the right way, right? Or you said the wrong thing, something politically incorrect on social media, right? Or your social media score plummeted below the acceptable level because you don't have enough carbon credits or whatever. I mean, what is it going to take? What does it take? Uh, I will tell you that there are people out there that are penny wise and pound foolish, right? They are they are thinking about making sure that little Johnny gets to soccer, right? Little Johnny's doing soccer, but not thinking about that all that time that they are not taking to make Texas independent means that Johnny may know how to play soccer, but Johnny will, have to figure out how to kick the ball with leg irons on. Simple as that. What was the phrase I said the other day? Somebody that treats nickels like manhole covers, right? My word. All right. So let me take a look here. Hey, big thank you to Donna. Donna says she has several pages of signatures. We'll have more soon. And thank you for your super chat. That will go to help us reach more. I mean, if the average signature is costs about $12, that's 4 more right there. Right. So thank you very much, Donna. And that reminds me, the other part of that too about the petition that I did not talk about is we still got paper petitions out there. Any counts that we have right now are solely online signatures, but CPCs are out there collecting tons of them on paper. And so we haven't seen those, and those all have to be verified and notarized and all that other stuff before they come in. And so, just it's how it works, folks. Okay. Let's take a look here. Okay, sorry guys, I'm having to read through. Shouting Clown says TEXIT. Well, we can learn from the horrible failure Brexit in the UK became. Look, I would argue with you that it's not entirely a failure because it's not entirely done yet. And we can have a conversation about why Brexit hasn't been completed yet. And I've actually talked about it on here many times before. One of the biggest failures in the entire Brexit campaign was that they had to suffer with a bunch of remainers in the government and civil service after the vote went down, right after the people voted, they had to deal with an intransigent political establishment that was firmly Remain. And the way that we have structured the Texas Independence Referendum Act and the timing of it for the final vote make sure that that does not become a problem for us. But thank you for your comment. Okay. Let's get down to it. All right. So, this is a good segue into the next topic because I've got to move along here. Is there has been an awful lot of discussion pointed at us as of late about forming a Texit party. And, I thought that I put this to bed a long time ago, right? I mean, we've actually put more than one article on our website, released public statements about this and why it's a colossally poorly thought out idea. But I'm gonna hit the high points tonight or the low points, and I'm going to explain how we came to that. Now, just so you understand, so you think that so you don't think that this would be dismissed out of hand. Understand that one of the early on domains that we registered and we still own it and it's still pointed at our website. If you go to texasnationalparty.org, you're going to land right on our website, right? So that should at least give you a hint that this was considered pretty hardcore early on, enough that we decided to do a little cyber squatting on the appropriate domains, right? But that was very early on, and it's an idea that continues to crop up, and honestly, the case for it gets worse and worse as time drags on, and the reason for that is really statute, right? The Texas Election Code and where the legislature is they continue to try to squeeze out all but the two major political parties. They're raising the bar for ballot access. Brian Hughes had a horrible bill that he was pushing in the Senate this session. That frankly, I mean, it would have just tanked petition efforts. It raised the bar for ballot access. I mean, I'm not going to spend the time dissecting his bill, but it was really terrible. I mean, it was horrible, and especially for those of you that have ever considered running as independents for office. It was really bad. Okay. But I will tell you that typically this crops up um, when there's a big disaffection with the Texas legislature or Greg Abbott, right? I mean, that's typically when people crop up. They feel like they're not being represented. And I'll tell you, look, we hear it from both Republicans and Democrats, and frankly, from some independents, right? There's this big disaffection, or more commonly, people will find some archival um, article from the UK about UKIP or the Brexit Party, about how that they'll see a mention and they think, oh, that's a good idea, we should go do that, and they think it's just that easy, right? So the one of the articles on our website deals specifically with this idea that just because people saw the Brexit Party, which doesn't exist, by the way, it's called Reform Party UK. But when they saw the Brexit Party win seats in the European Parliament prior to the formal withdrawal, where there are no more British MEPs, right? They saw the success and they said, Well, if Brexit Party can do it, we can do it. And what they fail to understand is that European Parliament is elected by proportional representation, not first past the post, right? Let me explain the difference. Proportional representation. You've got these constituencies. They are allowed a certain number of representatives in those constituencies. Parties register, and then they put forth candidates, right? They make choices for candidates, and then people go in and vote for the party, and then the seats in that constituency are allotted proportionally based off the percentage of the vote gained by the party. Okay, that's general proportional representation there. So you have an opportunity there when you have proportional representation for minority parties or parties that don't have massive followings. You have an opportunity for them to get some representation, some. Okay, and so that's why you will see, a plurality of parties, but that's also a lot of times why you will see in places like Spain, right, where right now deals are probably going to have to be made with secessionists in Catalonia to be able to form a government, where you don't have a single party that has a majority, and so you have to form these coalitions, and you form these coalitions, and they have a tendency to break apart. That's why you had Belgium for God, I don't know how long. They couldn't even form a government because no one could cobble together a majority. So proportional representation, while it has, on the surface some advantages, it has some very strong disadvantages as well. But that's how members of the European Parliament are elected. But in the UK system, much like we have here, it's first past the post. First past the post means the first person with the most votes wins, right? So you may have, like in the primaries, you may have a runoff election where nobody gets a majority of the vote. And so they take the top two candidates in the primaries, and they have a runoff between them, and whoever gets the majority of the votes, they win, right? But in the general election here in Texas, it's literal first past the post. The person with it is the highest vote getter, even if it is a minority of the votes cast. It's just the way it works, okay? UK has a very similar system. So first past the post means that it is important for established political parties to try to squeeze out minority parties, right? To consolidate their hold, to ensure that at least at some point they've got some majority. They can claim a mandate because they have a majority, but they want to squeeze it out because they don't want spoilers to come in and essentially slice their vote away. And so what they do, and the sort of naive wisdom is, well, they'll have to come and make deals with the minority parties to, try to adopt some of their platform or do whatever. But that's not the reality of it. The reality of it is, because the two majors are in control of the laws that govern the elections and the political parties, what effectively happens is they just wind up writing laws to squeeze those guys out, to make ballot access next to impossible. And they constantly, forevermore, raising the bar, putting more hurdles in essentially squeezing them out. And if you don't believe me, go talk to a libertarian right now, or go talk to a Green Party person. Go talk to the people in the Constitution Party who really, I don't think they can't even get ballot access at this point. The bar has been set so high that it becomes super difficult. And so, what I wanted to do was I wanted to first off say, don't look overseas at a completely different electoral system and think that means we should start our own political party. Also, do not assume that every TEXIT supporter will abandon their political party of choice if we form a political party. In fact, it may turn a significant number of them off from our core issues of political, cultural, and economic independence. Okay, so don't assume that if we did that, in the idea that we can form a political party just very easily under these laws is just ridiculous, right? And so I'm I'm going to share this with you because I want you guys to see what we're having to deal with here. Let me share my screen. There we go. Boom. All right. So this is straight from the Secretary of State's website, and this is they have the instructions, right? So they talk about candidate eligibility, and guys, again, I don't have a lot of time, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but I want you to see the procedure, and there are going to be a couple of key things that I'm going to hone in on here. Okay, so this right here will tell you these first two sentences gives you a hint at one of the largest problems with taking what we do as an organization and turning it into a political party. It says a person wishing to start a political party in Texas must form an organization and elect a chair and other necessary officers. And it cites sections 181.004, 182.002 of the Texas Election Code. Okay. And then it also says the organization must have a name of 3 words or less. Now, we have that, right? But one of the things that happens here, this must form an organization and elect a chair and other necessary officers. Well, people would say, well, we have an organization. Well, elect a chair and other necessary officers. What most people don't understand is that it gives, under the Texas Election Code, it gives the state essentially carte blanche to dictate how you organize your organization, right? So that's why you wind up with these silly rules like your state executive committee must have 2 representatives from each senatorial district, and 1 must be male and 1 must be female, right? I mean, that's why you get ridiculous things like that. And so, again, they institute a tremendous amount of bureaucracy that essentially you have to comply with, which costs money, which costs time, which costs resources. Because if you don't, then you don't qualify to be a political party. And so what they do is they just put these ridiculous draconian organizational requirements on you that you have to organize this way, and you got to spin around 3 times, and you got to put on a blue shirt, you got to do that, and it's all this kind of mumbo jumbo. But here's the other thing that I want you to look at. Beyond that, understand that it gives the state effectively absolute organizational control. I mean, they don't control per se, but when you can control how an organization is organized and what officers they can have and what officers they can't have and how often they meet and all this other stuff, it creates some significant hurdles, right? It gives them a tremendous amount of control and the ability to essentially regulate you out of being a political party. Okay, so next thing, and I'm not going to go through all this. You can look at all this on the Secretary of State's website, but this is the key. Okay, now minority parties are essentially, until they qualify, and the number up here is, let me find it here. There is a percentage, and I probably should have dug off. I probably should have looked at, but there's essentially a percentage that says if your candidate in the last election cycle gets between 5 and 20% of the vote, right? I think that's it. Then you can run by primary, and I think it's got to be for statewide office, but that's a whole other thing. You'll find it in there, but otherwise, when you first kick off, you're relegated to nominating by convention method, right? Now, a fun part about this, when you nominate by the convention method, it essentially says that you convene your convention just like the Republican Party has its convention, Democrats have their convention, Libertarians have their convention. But instead of having primaries, the conventions are where you select your candidates to go on the ballot. So if you've got 5 people that want to run for a particular office, your convention makes that decision. Okay. But here's the kicker, and this is what I want to throw at you. Minimum precinct participants required to be entitled to place their nominees on the general election ballot. New political parties must first file a list of precinct convention participants with the Secretary of State not later than the 75th day after the date of the precinct conventions. Now, this will tell you that, everybody's asleep at the wheel over there at the Secretary of State's office, but this 1% figure is actually a little bit lower now, right? I think there were about 8.1 million votes cast in the last governor's race. But this was says the list must indicate that the number of participants equals at least 1% of the total number of votes received by all candidates for governor in the most recent gubernatorial election. So right now, that means that statewide, the number of precinct convention participants would have to be a little north of 81,000. Now, I'm going to give you an idea of what that number looks like, and I can't. There's no way for me to pull it up on here, but election results from the last election, just shy over 1%, was actually the total number of votes cast for the Libertarian candidate for governor. Okay, now, if you've ever been to a precinct convention of any of these political parties, you understand that the number of precinct convention participants is really light. In fact, so light that I can tell you from my experience in the Republican Party that many of the precincts don't even really have precinct conventions because they just don't have anybody. And you see that played out in these counties where they're collapsing the precinct conventions and the county conventions and having them on the same day because there are so few people participating. So it's a very interesting situation, right? But anyway, so when people ask about why don't you? Well, look, we don't have to. And I'm going to give you a concrete example. I even dug this up for you guys. I mean, this is some old school writing. So, right after the Brexit vote, actually did an analysis of the impact of UKIP on the election, and actually did some comparisons with the TNM. And this is what I'm going to tell you. And if you read the TEXIT book, you will hear me refer to, and you may have heard me refer to the UK Independence Party previously as a political party that operated more like a pressure group than a political party, and here's why. Okay, so I'm just going to read this excerpt. In the 2015 UK general election, right? So that was the general election before the Brexit vote. UKIP had 3.9 million votes cast for its candidates across the UK. Okay, so that means that you tally up all the votes cast for UKIP candidates, and it was 3.9 million. Now, here's what's interesting about that number. It represented the third highest vote total by political party, right? So if you know anything about UK politics, you've got Conservative, you've got Labour, and you had Liberal Democrats, the Lib Dems. And UKIP wasn't really on the radar much. I mean, they would have some show here and there. They would do good in the European Parliament elections, but they knocked the Lib Dems out of the boat as that third party. Okay, that sort of third spoiler. But here's the interesting thing about it: even with having the third highest vote totals out of all the political parties, they did not get one single member elected to Parliament. Not one. Not a single candidate made it across the finish line to represent UKIP in the British Parliament. Didn't happen. However, interestingly, in 2016 Brexit vote, 17.4 million votes were cast in favor, right? So what you had was UKIP, although they had no political power whatsoever, they got no politicians, no electeds across the finish line in the British Parliament, they operated effectively as a pressure group. No one was out there championing in a major way Brexit except for UKIP. And what they effectively did at that time then was they operated as a pressure group. They were able to influence the other two major political parties, not so much by their showing at the polls, but as much as they were able to capture public opinion. And there's a whole dissertation on that, how it really wasn't the third place showing because, again, they got no power out of it. But interestingly enough, and I'm just going to tell you some takeaways from this. It says, leaving out the numbers, it says back of the envelope math says that around 1% of UKIP supporters and 0.24% of Brexit supporters were actually members of UKIP. Interesting statistic. But the point here is that, and it's something that Dr. Quartrip and I talked a good deal about, and I talked about it with, you guys know our advisory board member, George Constantinides. We had a lot of conversation about this. And the fact of the matter is that UKIP was never really a successful political party outside of its ability to, because of proportional representation, get some loud folks in the European Parliament, Nigel Farage being one of them. And Nigel Farage used that platform to get up there and essentially give the infamous damp rag speech, which put Brexit on the radar. He said something so outrageous it drove the Europeans nuts, but it bolstered and emboldened the people that supported an independent United Kingdom, and the rest is history. So it's important for us to remember that just because you see political parties doing it over there doesn't mean we necessarily do it here. It is not our best strategic move, right, to advance the cause of TEXIT. Think about it from these terms, okay? If we've got the votes and we've got major political parties that have platform planks calling for the things that we want, then why is it a smarter move to expend time and resources and allow the heavy hand of the bureaucrats in our strategy when what we need to do is just really connect those things? Pro-Texit candidates with pro-Texit voters, and getting them out to the polls to go out and do what we want. That's actually the easier play, to utilize that system against them. As the Texas Nationalist movement, as we are organized, we're an effective pressure group. That we're actually in a much better position even than UKIP was prior to the 2015 UK general election. So I would encourage people just to remember, when you're at first down and inches till the goal line, that's not the time for flea flickers, right? That's the time when you focus on your fundamentals. Just like I said, we need candidates. And if you go to taketexasback.com right now, you're going to find them. And we need more. And I think more are going to be announcing soon. We've already got the base of support out there, but we need volunteers to go out there and connect with our people and say, hey, look, we've sent you 24 emails and we're not hearing back from you. We need you on the field. We need your help. We need you to sign a petition. We need you to go vote for candidate. This is the kind of stuff that needs to happen. So, it is about really focusing on the fundamentals of retail politics. And I will tell you, there's some analysis of it in the book. Prior to that 2015 general election, UKIP was kind of organizationally a mess. They did not know how to engage in retail politics at all. It was the insistence of some folks that came in and said, look, here's the deal. Nigel had left the party. He came back. He says, if I come back, here's how it's going to be. We're going to be an effective political party. We're going to go out there and we're going to do the things political parties do. We're going to block walk. We're going to table. We're going to maintain a voter database. We're going to have strict discipline in the party. If you come in to our party and you say crazy things that are against our code of conduct, we're going to boot you out on your butt, right? They did all those things. And guess what? It led them to accumulating the third highest vote total in that general election, and eventually led to Brexit becoming a reality, or almost. They'll get it across the finish line. So don't mistake the successes for others or their system for our system. It's different here. And because it's different here, our strategies have to adapt. And part of that is not forming a TEXIT party. It is an expense of time and money and resources that could be better put elsewhere to go do the thing that we're talking about. We just need people to quit thinking like every play's got to be a stab for the end zone, or every play's got to be a flea flicker, right? We got to get everybody on the same page and go, look, there is no easy way to do this. You're going to have to work for it, and you're going to have to do the things necessary to make it happen. And if you don't do it, then it's just going to take a longer time. Maybe your children will have a better time of doing it, and an easier time of doing it. And it'll be harder for them, but maybe they'll put aside whatever it is that their hang up is and get involved in it, right? And get it done. It's going to take getting the basics done. You got to volunteer. You got to participate. Guess what? You're going to have to call out some money. You're going to have to donate. You're going to have to become a member. You're going to have to volunteer. It may take you a tank of gas. You may have to reshuffle some of your priorities in your life. But if you want it bad enough, then you'll do it. I mean, that's why I'm here. Trust me. I've told the story plenty lately. I originally wanted to be an astrophysicist. That's where I was headed. And then Texas said, we need you. And I am here. And I have shuffled everything in my life to work to see that this thing happens. The joke is that, I work as a technology consultant, but the joke is really that my technology consultant career is what is the sideline, right? It's what I do to earn money to keep me in the fight, to keep me doing what I got to do, so that if every one of you people evaporated tomorrow, I could still move, shoot, and communicate, right? I could still be a one-man army. Not like I hadn't been rolling nearly solo before, right? But I know that's not going to happen because you guys are awesome. Okay, look, I really want to talk about what's going to happen, or what is going to happen post TEXIT petition. We'll get to that next time. I went long about that TEXIT party thing. I probably could have trimmed that down some, but hopefully there was some good information in there for you. Make sure you check it out. Let me know in the comments if you found that particularly useful, particularly give you any insights or whatever. But we'll get to upcoming strategy later. But look, I actually hinted at some of it. Right? We get the petition across the finish line on December the 1st. We're immediately in the mode. We're already seeing candidates come forward. We're already seeing work happening. Candidates sign the Texas First Pledge. We're seeing people go over to taketexasback.com and volunteer for campaigns. We are already having people training and getting ready, because maybe this petition isn't the only one we're going to do. We're seeing meetings popping up right now for our other campaigns, the Resolution Revolution campaign. There are about to be resolutions popping in counties all across Texas calling for a vote on TEXIT, just like what happened in Edwards County. And then we've got the Chair of the Vote campaign that's going, where we've got people that are actively working right now to get resolutions passed in their county executive committees and their political parties, calling for a vote on TEXIT. So this is happening all over the place. Things are happening everywhere. So do that. What's at the screen right now? Go to TEXITpetition.com or go to the campaigns and get plugged in, tnm.me/campaigns. Look, you don't need me here every week to be your cheerleader. You know what's right. So go do it, right? But good news, I think you will be seeing more of me on Wednesday nights, and I'm happy to be back with you. All right. It is time for me to wrap this bad boy up. I've got to get some more coffee. It's been more talk than coffee tonight, right? But we'll get down to it. All right. A reminder, if you have not pledged your support, head over to tnm.me/vote, or just go sign the petition and check the box that you support, and we'll take care of that for you. Additionally, if you would like to be a volunteer, head over to tnm.me/volunteer. Become a volunteer today. We need all hands on deck. And again, I did mention Although this is not the page to do it. If you go to the petition page, go become a certified petition circulator. Go get certified to collect petition signatures. We need your help. And by the way, if you have not plugged into one of your local groups, go and make it happen. tnm.me/local groups. There are people like you right now in your own backyard that are wanting to know other people that support TEXIT. They want community. They want like-minded folks. And if you are one of those that want to participate, not just to eat, meet, greet, and retreat, but to actually get TEXIT done, head over to tnm.me/local groups. All right. Well, my friends, that, as they say, is a wrap. It felt really great to be back in the saddle, I must say. All right. Well, look, I want to thank you all very much for all the kind comments that you made over there in the chat. Look, my screen's going wonky, but I appreciate all of the comments that you guys made over in chat, welcoming me back, encouraging me. I want to thank you all for participating tonight, and I'm excited for what the future's what the future's got in store for us, right? I mean, we're all Texians that are working on a common cause, and you got to love what happens when like-minded people all singing out of the same hymn book, all start working toward the same thing, right? So with that, I'm going to leave you with the words that I leave you with every time we're together. They're not my words, they're the words of Sam Houston, when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. I believe that time is now, and the question is, will you stand with her? Good night, everyone.